Good evening. I'm in my usual Hello Kitty pajama. This is my pajama. That wasn't my cat. This is not my bathroom. I am actually babysitting my friend's cat while she's away for a few days. And while I'm taking care of the kitty, I decided to also help my friend organize her bathroom sink. So we're starting off with a quick diagnosis of what's actually going on here. Quick disclaimer for my friend, a lot of stuff on the counter belongs to me and Luke because we're staying over. Before my friend left for her trip, she walked me through the situation with her sink and some of the issues she's been having with the space underneath it. She likes to keep things off the counter as much as possible, so literally everything gets shoved under the sink. From what I've seen and what she's told me, her main problem is just finding anything. As you can see, stuff is everywhere. The space under the sink is super deep, so if something gets pushed way back in there, you completely lose track of it. She's tried using baskets to stay organized, but honestly, things just end up getting lost inside the baskets too. Another issue, both from looking at the space and just knowing her, is that things aren't really categorized. You will find kitchen stuff in the bathroom or bathroom cleaning supplies sitting in the kitchen. And also, she's a out of sight, out of mind type of person. If she can't see something, there's a high chance she will completely forget it exists. So the biggest goal here is to organize everything so she can actually see and reach her stuff effortlessly. I'm definitely going to grab some more baskets for her, but I will tailor them to what's being stored. Since she has a lot of small items, I'll get shallower baskets so things don't get buried. Then, the bigger spray bottles can stay in the deeper bins since they're still easy to spot. And another thing is, she's really struggling to find dedicated spots for her electronics, like her electric toothbrush charger, her hair dryer, and other products. My plan is to get another basket, shallow one for all of those, and keep it right next to the outlet, making it convenient for her to grab and use. And yeah, that's my diagnosis and my rough plan for the cleanup. There's probably going to be other random things that pop up as I clear out everything and sort through everything. But we'll see as we go. So right now, I'm just going through every single item under the sink, roughly using the surrounding space to sort them into different groups as I pull them out. For example, dental care, hair products, skincare samples, makeup items, and so on. Usually, the professional organizers probably will tell you to clear out the entire space and dump everything on the ground before sorting. But since I'm working with super limited floor space, I'm just utilizing the actual shelf area to categorize things as I go. And of course, when it comes to makeup, I told my friend that it's probably best for us to sit down together when she gets back so she can go through everything herself. That way, she can decide what to keep and what to toss. And to be completely honest, I am not very familiar with makeup. I don't really wear it myself, so my own collection is practically bare bones. I know the basics, but I don't know a lot of the nuances. Looking through some of my friend's products, I was getting a little confused genuinely here and there. It definitely would have been easier if she were here to walk me through everything, but honestly, it's actually been really fun. Getting a little crash course for myself on a world I'm not very familiar with through this organizing process. And it wasn't just makeup either. My friend also has a cat, so I get to crash course in all the specific products used around litter boxes and cat care. Like I always say, I genuinely enjoy learning new things, and this was definitely another unexpected lesson. Just to do a quick recap on what I learned from making the last video, I honestly feel like I made a huge leap forward, especially with the visual flow, the pacing, and my overall workflow. The only major thing I'm still trying to dial in is the audio. I noticed that my voiceover sound can sometimes be a bit unstable or inconsistent. In certain spots, it almost sounds like a patchwork of recordings. I think it mostly comes down to how far my mouth is from the phone mic and how I'm using my voice. I'm still experimenting to find the ideal audio setup and figure out which speaking style gives the narration the cleanest, best quality sound. So now I've gone through everything and done a rough initial pass. Before I actually go out and get the proper baskets, I'm just using whatever containers and bins are already available here to temporarily group things together. And as you can see, I'm using this box with the lid to hold all the unopened and used items. That way, they stay completely clean and protected, and they're not taking up space and getting mixed in with the stuff she's currently using. I think a huge motivation for why I clean and organize things actually comes down to the fact that I am, at my core, very, very lazy. I want everything to be visible and instantly accessible so that whenever I need anything, I know exactly where it is. I refuse to waste time or energy digging around in deep dark corners. Instead of using regular storage boxes and stacking them on top of each other, which means that I have to physically lift the top box off just to see what's inside the bottom one, I prefer pull-out drawer boxes. That way everything stays neatly stacked, but I can just slide a drawer open and see all my stuff instantly with zero effort. That same laziness is also why I'm constantly trying to figure out a more sustainable way to make videos. I only set up a single overhead camera angle, and I realized that shooting a simple time-lapse is so much easier than managing multiple different camera setups just to document one task. I try to find the easiest way to handle my scripts and streamline my workflow because I have a whole life outside of this YouTube thing. I need to minimize the amount of time I spend on editing and production so that this whole hobby actually stays sustainable for me long term. At the end of the day, I believe in the idea of work smart, not work hard. So many of my systems come straight out of laziness, but honestly, isn't that how almost all technological progress happens? I think human beings are inherently lazy. We didn't want to write tedious emails ourselves, so we created AI to help us draft them. We didn't want to walk miles every day, so we invented cars. Efficiency has always been driven by our desire to make life easier, so we can work smarter, so we can have a little more leisure time. So really, laziness might just be the ultimate mother of invention. Even though so many tools that boost efficiency come from a place of laziness, technology is so often misused in my opinion. If you are a full-time corporate employee, you are expected to work 8 hours a day. But honestly, I don't think human beings are built to work an 8-hour focus block. It's actually completely inefficient, speaking for myself. After about 3 or 4 hours of solid work, my ability to concentrate just declines. If I'm forced to sit there for another 4 hours, my mind just drifts. Things still get done, sure, but in the most sluggish and efficient way possible. I always thought the premise of AI and modern technology was that it would condense that 8-hour workload down into 3 or 4 hours, freeing up the rest of your day for things you actually care about. Your personal passions, your life, your rest. Instead, because AI is so capable, the expectation has just shifted to squeeze more output into the same 8 hours. I just think this constant capitalistic chase for higher yield is just not healthy. Here, I'm cleaning out one of her baskets that's filled with a mix of random items she always struggled to put away or find. As I dig through, I'm grouping everything into distinct categories like medications, extra makeup, and both open and unopened tissue packs, so we can assign each group a clear, permanent home. She also has a set of open shelves that definitely need some love. We'll dive into those next to make sure everything is neatly arranged, fully visible, and super easy to grab whenever she needs it. I'm saying all of this not because I think people shouldn't take their work seriously, but purely from my own experience of chasing that high standard and total perfection at work. Spending 8 hours a day constantly trying to operate at 100% and do absolutely best every single second is the fastest route to burnout. So don't get me wrong, of course we should take pride in what we do and craft great work, but for me, perfectionism has just ended up hindering my growth and draining my mental health. So I've been actively trying to push back against it because the constant chase for high yield and absolute perfection is completely endless. We all have to find that sweet spot, a healthy balance where we give our minds enough rest while still putting out work that is good enough to run with. And honestly, this world doesn't even need perfection. So much of what operates around us every single day just runs on good enough. I keep reminding myself of that so I don't slip back into that rigid perfectionism trap. Even with making this video where I'm leveraging all these tools to streamline the process, I still have to actually push back against that mindset. It's a constant struggle to find that sweet spot, producing enough to feel satisfied with what I've made without accidentally overworking myself in the process. Striking that balance is so much harder than it sounds, because sometimes I look at the footage and I wish I had positioned my camera a little better or talk a little better. There's always room for improvements, and perfectionism is just endless. Progress check. Second day progress check. So I roughly went through everything and throw out everything that for sure we don't need. Grouped everything roughly together in big groups, and then I went to Muji to get boxes. Now it's time to assemble it. Now it's time to assemble everything and put it back. I actually spent my undergrad at a world-famous school for computer science, and almost everyone's doing computer science. And unfortunately and fortunately, I wasn't doing computer science. I was actually doing fine art with a concentration in bookmaking and video production. Because almost everyone around me were doing something related with computer science, I get to witness this wide spectrum of people. Absolutely prodigies who are just born to do this, and then people who are genuinely passionate about it, and then of course there were people who weren't as passionate but chose to do it because it was the hottest major, made the most money, and landing a job at Meta or Google or other big tech granted you that financial stability people used to judge whether you were successful or not. The one thing everyone had in common was that they were insanely hardworking. Our school motto was literally, "My heart is in the work." Well, maybe people can already guess which school it was, but everyone was just grinding. I took a summer class for intro to programming once, and I literally had to work my ass off. It was not a fun experience, and something I realized is that while a prodigy only needs to spend 10 hours on something, the rest of us, whether you love it or not, might have to work 100 hours just to end up in the same spot. And maybe realize something is wrong when everyone is trying to walk the exact same narrow path. Because it was such a competitive environment, it got really exhausting. I witnessed people around me having physical and mental breakdowns, burning out completely. The overall atmosphere, especially among a lot of the East Asian kids, was how hardworking you are, how many credits are you taking, what internship are you having. There were even people who would make statements publicly saying that at this school, if you don't work hard enough, you can't even find people to hang out with because everyone is working hard. I'm not discounting hard work, but growing up in an East Asian cultural environment, we are often taught that pure grit can conquer everything. We forget that if you have to push yourself that hard for something you don't even enjoy, maybe it's a sign that's simply not your path. And your energy belongs somewhere else. When you're in college, even though you think you are an adult because you're over 18, you're still so easily influenced by what the world tells you to do. Looking back now, I thought I had a strong sense of self, but I was definitely absorbing a lot of those pressures too, unconsciously. At the same time, I have immersed respect for people who can force themselves through things that they don't like that much just to reach a goal, because I simply can't do that. I used to view my inability to force things as a weakness and my laziness also as a weakness. But now I see them as a blessing in disguise. My natural friction prevents me from wasting years down the wrong path. And my laziness, it acts as a natural circuit breaker that stops me from falling into the endless trap of trying to be perfect. I'm learning to listen to my body's natural response to stress instead of letting my conscious mind relentlessly chase this impossible standard. Of course, even saying all of this, I'm still on the journey of discovering what truly aligns with me, and that's okay too, I think. To be very honest, I used to fall back into this dilemma, especially right after graduating when I was not financially stable yet. Since I went to a famous CS school, I would ask myself, Why didn't I push a little harder and at least get a minor in CS? It definitely would have made job hunting infinitely easier. Instead, I ended up only taking just one single intro to programming class. I kept second-guessing myself, wondering if I should have just followed my peers, prioritizing financial stability, build up a nest, and then pursue art or whatever else I wanted to do. But every time I start spiraling like that, I remember what taking that one class was actually like. Sure, I ended up getting an A, but it took every ounce of effort I had, while some of my classmates were doing it completely effortlessly. Why should I try to force myself to succeed in that lane that is naturally mine? And honestly, looking back, the only reason I even got that A wasn't because of how complex my code was. I wasn't scoring that high on coding complexity. It was because the game I designed was visually stunning and I made a super interesting video to present it. Looking back, the pattern has always been there. My actual strength isn't sitting around trying to solve complex logic. It's telling stories, designing visuals, and making videos. I don't regret going to that school at all, because being in that environment gave me the clarity to realize that it might be a path that everyone wants to walk, but that doesn't mean it should be the path of mine too. Every day I try to tell myself when I get confused of what I should do that there is really no single right path, even though so many of us East Asian kids spent years searching for one. Growing up in an environment where success was defined by walking one specific narrow road makes it so easy to internalize that mindset. But the reality is there are 100 different ways to have a life. Even everyone's messiness is different. Finding your own way just comes down to listening to your body, your heart, and your own internal calling, even if that sounds a bit abstract. Life is inherently unpredictable and we ultimately have way less control over how things unfold than we like to think. So I asked myself, what actually are my internal callings? What am I naturally good at? What feels so natural and effortless that it just flows? And I realized it's making videos and telling stories. It's learning languages, learning about other cultures and talking about how they work. It's gossiping and sharing weird stories with my friends. It's learning literally anything new. And more recently, I realized that even organizing for someone else, is something where I can drop into a state of total flow so easily. As I start making this third video for my channel, even though I began this whole journey without knowing where exactly it was going, I'm starting to see it now. I think this YouTube channel is actually a conglomeration of everything I love. I really want to experiment with bringing all these pieces together. I want to see if combining the things I genuinely enjoy can create a space that is uniquely mine, turning it into something real that I truly believe in, and maybe even something that can support my living in return. Wouldn't it be so ideal? Well, I think I've rambled on about my existential life thoughts long enough for today, and I'm also finishing up the cleaning underneath the sink with the last section of the items. I hope you enjoy the little clips of the kitty sprinkled throughout this video. Her name is Taji. She's an absolute angel. Even though she wakes me at 5 a.m. every single morning asking for food and water, sometimes she'll wake me up again at 7 or 8 just meowing because she wants her space on the bed. Basically kicking me out so I have to go sleep on the sofa while she takes the mattress. When Luke and I are sitting on the sofa together, she'll jump right in between us asking for head scratches and start purring until she falls fast asleep on my lap, on my arm, or on my tummy. Her little paws can actually feel surprisingly heavy on my weak abs sometimes, not gonna lie. But she's just so cute. And she's so tame too. She doesn't knock things over or steal food. She just sleeps, eats, and hands out. Having her around is just so sweet, and I hope watching her give you a little dose of healing too. And that's pretty much where we end up. Everything is roughly sorted into categories using baskets. It's definitely not perfect, but it will need another round of decluttering once my friend gets back. Honestly, it's good enough for now. I once heard a professional organizer say that you should group things into functional categories, but leave room for a little internal messiness. You're not organizing just to make it look pretty for other people like a store display. You're the one who actually has to use it, so it's totally fine if things are a little messy inside the box. I don't mean to sound overly philosophical, but I think there's some truth in that for life too. So we're done for now. Just quick update on what I did. I couldn't find a proper camera angle to capture everything I did, but here is what we have now. So I'll start from this. These are the cat stuff. Behind it is all the cleaning stuff for bathroom. And here are a bunch of things. There's a lot of samples, and then half-used skincare, half-used hair care, nail care, anything half-used are there. This is half-used makeup with the brushes. There are things that maybe she wants to throw away, but I don't know, and so I couldn't make the decision to throw things away, so I'm just keeping everything here for now. But if there are things she wants to throw away, we'll go through them together. So yeah, there's still room for improvement. And these are all the accessories. And behind the two boxes, we have another box that's closed actually. Those are all the new stuff that hasn't been used. Hand soap, toothpaste, everything unused are in this box. So I tried to make things easier. If she needs to grab anything from here, she can easily pull these two out and grab the basket behind. And here we have the half-used skin medicine, dental related things, and little tools such as stuff like clips and things. And with all the makeup stuff, and with all the cotton, Again, I think it's better if we go through everything together just so we can clear out more stuff, but for now we're keeping it as everything as is. Because the plug is here, so I put the electric appliances here, so it's easier to use them. Okay, that's it. Yeah. So, yeah.
Tam tam dee 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 tam tam dee 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 dee